Hello noble ones, this is part 2 of this reaction video and commentary to the video called Every Historical Misconception Debunked in 10 Minutes. If you haven't watched part 1, you'll find a link in the description.
During the Middle Ages, most people weren't unhygienic. Public bathhouses were common in towns and cities, and in urban centers, waste management was a big concern. Furthermore, religious practices often emphasized cleanliness as a part of spiritual and ritual purity. Medieval torture devices
He's correct.
Were less commonly used than often portrayed, and many famous devices like the Iron Maiden are likely more myth than reality. The use of chastity belts during the Middle Ages was not a common practice. They were introduced by a German engineer as a form of satire during the 15th century, so it's very unlikely that its use during the Middle Ages was as common as it's normally portrayed. The 100 Years' War did not last.
To add, it didn't last 100 years. How much did it last? I don't remember. 106, 116. You know, the thing about the chastity belt as a meme, medieval people, we often have this image that, you know, medieval people were super Catholic, right? Super Christian, super Catholic, very religious. So the split second you say something like sexual, they're going to be all pious. And so they're going to be all like, oh, how dare you? You know, that's how we sometimes imagine it. The reality is that it's insane. If you look at the jokes, the double entendre, and the sexual jokes that are found in medieval Europe, it's all over the place. Medieval people are quite foul when it comes to their language, and sexuality was often used as a joke. Given, would you make a sexual joke inside of a cathedral in front of a bishop? No. But then again, we also have to distinguish the regular people and their everyday regular life. And if you read the funny stories, it's all about sex when it comes to medieval people. It is. And it's funny. It's really funny.
100 years. It lasted
116, I got it right. I should have not said 106. 16. I remember there was a 6.
16 years, from 1337 to 1453, despite its name suggesting a century-long conflict. The Black Death was not spread by rats, but by the fleas on said rats, which transmitted the plague bacteria to humans. The fall of the Berlin Wall did not cause the...
I mean, of course there is a lot more to say about the spread of the Yersinia pestis bacterium. Technically, you could say that rats are conducive to the spread, because it's not like I can imagine the fleas flying all the way to freaking Europe. That is pedantic, but I appreciate pedantic, Titan Bro, so I'm not going to use it against him. I'm Mr. Pedantic myself. By the way, I'm going to make an announcement right now. It's going to be a big announcement, so you get ready for the big announcement. I'm making a new plushie. It's going to be great. It's going to be me. Hopefully, we can release it for the 1 million subscribers, unless YouTube stops having people subscribe. In that case, we'll release it anyways. But yeah, we're making a plushie, and the word pedantic is going to be on the plushie.
Which transmitted the plague bacteria to humans. The fall of the Berlin Wall did not cause the unification of Germany. Although it marked the beginning of the end of Germany's division, the formal reunification of East and West Germany occurred on October 3rd, 1990.
Pedantic,
Cowboys are portrayed in a very exaggerated manner in modern media, often being described as lawless and chaotic people. Many frontier towns had organized communities with relatively low crime rates, and cowboys often worked as cattle herders and ranchers, contributing to the development of the American West. They also...
Hey, pretty cool. I mean, I don't know anything about cowboys, I'll be honest with you, but nice.
Did not wear cowboy hats. Joseph Ignace Guillotine did not die by the guillotine. He died in 1814 of natural causes. Not all gladiators were slaves. Many were volunteers who chose to fight.
Okay, I like this channel. I like this channel. You know what? I gotta do this.
Of natural causes. Not all gladiators were slaves. Many were volunteers who chose to fight for fame, money, or to pay off debts, though many slaves and prisoners of war also became gladiators. No one...
Okay, so he's correct. Since he's pedantic, I think he's going to appreciate my pedanticism as well, in the sense that when he says many were volunteers, I don't think we can substantiate the word many necessarily, but definitely there was a certain number of gladiators that were volunteers, others were prisoners of war, and others would have been slaves. So he's absolutely right that that was a thing. And as he says, sometimes they do it because they need to pay debt. Other times it's because, I mean, it is a possibly lucrative career if you think you've got the skills. Like, imagine if you're a strong man, you know how to fight. You're like, you know what, I want to be a gladiator. I'll do this for 5 years. If I survive, then, you know, maybe I will... It's something that people would have chosen sometimes, although often they do it because they are in desperate economic conditions. Absolutely. But he's absolutely right. You know who is not right about this? I gotta show it. You know me. I don't care if I make enemies online. I've got you. You are the best. You are the ones that are going to allow me to speak my mind. This guy. So, super big shot Professor Roman historian, on his dedicated video, when he spoke about gladiators, he said gladiators were all slaves. He does not talk about the idea. And in fact, he even tries to kind of debunk it, which is nonsense because it's in the sources. We know it happened. So, big shot professor doesn't know, but little channel with drawings knows. Where are we going? What's happening to academia? Not everyone, okay? Before people say Metatron is anti-academia. No, I'm anti-clowns in academia. But I'm not anti-academia. I think there are plenty of academics that are fantastic. But there are some people that just... I can't help it, guys. I can't help it.
Or to pay off debts, though many slaves and prisoners of war also became gladiators. No one actually jumped off buildings during the crash of the stock market in 1929.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Germany did not invade the Soviet Union in the winter during World War II. Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union, known as Operation Barbarossa, began in June 1941. Lady Godiva did...
Okay, he's going very fast. So, yeah, I mean, so far, so good.
No one actually jumped off buildings during the crash of the stock market in 1929. Germany did not invade the Soviet Union in the winter during World War II. Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union, known as Operation Barbarossa, began in June 1941. Lady Godiva did not ride a horse naked through Coventry as a form of protest against high taxes. Historical evidence suggests that this famous event was likely a myth rather than a factual event. Marco Polo did not introduce pasta to Italy.
Boom! Marco Polo! Ladies and gentlemen, listen to the man. I'm gonna be pedantic a little bit. Possibly, if we want to say noodles, perhaps, yeah, but pasta? Pasta existed in ancient Rome.
After his travels to China. The myth began in a newsletter published by an association of American pasta makers called the Macaroni Journal. Pasta was common in Italy many years before the birth of Marco.
He's right. He's right. And not even many years before the birth of Marco Polo, but pasta, there is something kind of similar to lasagne in ancient Rome. Clearly, they didn't have tomato because tomatoes come from the New World. So they didn't have pasta with sauce, but they did have something kind of similar. Maybe noodles may have been... It's possible that he did bring some food from China. I'm not sure about that. But then again, yeah.
Spices were not used in the Middle Ages to mask the flavor of rotten meat. During the Middle Ages, spices were an extremely expensive and luxurious item, and those who could afford them could also afford meat. Julius Caesar.
Not even that, but I mean, rotten meat. It's maybe if it's meat that it's a tiny... I think in India they do it for curry. They used to do it if the meat is not like the freshest, but not rotten. Rotten meat is going to send you to the other side, as in fact happened with Roman legionaries who did eat some rotten meat. And there is a description in one of the sieges. I think it happens in... somewhere in the Middle East, and a lot of legionaries died because they ate some rotten meat because they were starving and they didn't have salt, and salt at that point was used to conserve the meat, so that there is a discussion about it. But I mean, who's gonna be like, look, it's literally decomposed with all the flies, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of spice, which I don't know where they're getting them from, a little spice, so I can finally now do what? What about Julius Caesar?
Did not invent the Caesar salad. The dish was invented in Tijuana by a man named Caesar Cardini, an Italian-American cook.
Oh, was he an Italian-American cook? For some reasons, I thought he was Latino. I didn't think it was an Italian-American. But yeah, is there anyone? Come on, chat. You gotta level with me. Anyone who actually thought that Caesar salad was named after Julius Caesar? You gotta level with me. Level with me, please. Tell me no one believes that. Tell me we don't actually need to make a debunking video on that. Because could you imagine Julius Caesar as his conqueror is like slaughtering the Gauls, and in the meantime is like, you know what, I fancy a salad with a little bit of dressing and the breadcrumbs. You believe that? Come on, Daniel. Julius Caesar did not slaughter the Gauls after having some salad. Okay? Let's put it this way. I think if anything, the guy would have had some meat, some meat and wheat, cheese, sure, a little vinegar. We're here, guys. We're here for you. We're working for you 24/7. Spread the truth, debunk the nonsense. That's what we're doing, guys. Julius Caesar did not eat the salad, and that's not the reason why he was stabbed.
Dish was invented in Tijuana by a man named Caesar Cardini, an Italian-American cook. Ronald Reagan was never a serious candidate for the role of Rick Blaine in the 1942 film Casablanca. Although an initial studio press mentioned Reagan, the studio was already aware that Reagan would be unavailable due to his incoming military service. Hitler did not create the Autobahn as the construction began in the Weimar Republic era. Hitler significantly expanded and promoted...
It's Austrian painter. Let's not get this demonetized. I don't need another yellow dollar, okay? It's the Austrian painter and then the Austrian painter fan club. That's how we call it.
The Autobahn for economic and propaganda purposes once he came to power. Mussolini did not make the trains run on time. Many of...
Man, look at that man's
propaganda
face.
Purposes once he came to power. Mussolini...
This is probably the most iconic face that Mussolini made. There is something about his speeches on the balcony, on balconies, for example. I've shown some in my videos. He is such a demagogue. That is insane. How theatrical he was is crazy. Is crazy when it comes to Mussolini. He will do this and then he go like after he says something and then he will like, it's crazy. But it worked. It might look weird to us today, but then again, some things make us cringe, and they're from the freaking 60s or the 70s. I love the 70s, by the way, and the 80s and the 90s. Give me the 90s above any other decade, and I will not apologize for that 90s rule. With that being said, yeah, I mean, culture changes, things change, and there are things that we do that they would have cringed at, and there are things that they did that today look cringy, but then again...
Mussolini did not make the trains run on time. Many of the punctuality and efficiency achievements of Italy's rail system were either exaggerated by propaganda or attributed to work that began before his rise to power.
Yeah, you try now. You try now to get on a train that leaves the station on time in Italy. Yeah, good luck with that. It's like when you see, if the thing, just so you know, if the thing says Freccia Rossa, the red arrow, it's one of our trains, Freccia Rossa, departure, 3 p.m. Yeah. You're probably looking into 4:30, more likely, just so you know. Just so you know. Not always the case, but I've had situations like that. The only time in which the train leaves the station on time in Italy is when you are late. It's
all
like
American colonists wanted independence from Britain. The colonists were split into 3 main groups: patriots, who supported independence; loyalists, who remained loyal to Britain; and neutrals, who were either indifferent or undecided.
I gotta give it to you guys in America. You got the best flag. You got the best flag on the world. I freaking love the American flag.
Walt Disney was not cryogenically frozen. He was cremated, and his ashes were spread across the Forest Lawn
I'm sorry, what?
Memorial Park in California. The Mayan calendar did not predict the end of the world in 2012. Scholars and experts have clarified that this date...
little Nostradamus there, giving me a little closer. Who thinks Disney was cryogenically? Man, that would be a little sci-fi twist. Could you imagine that?
Simply represents the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. Much like our own calendar, starts a new year after December 31st. Right. Not everyone in the colonial era wore wigs. Wearing wigs, or perukes, was primarily a fashion trend among the wealthy and elite classes, including politicians, lawyers, and merchants, particularly in the 17th and 18th centuries. The Pilgrims did not land at Plymouth Rock first. They initially landed elsewhere, possibly in Provincetown. Plymouth Rock later became a symbolic site, representing the location where they eventually...
I'm sorry, I'm gonna add a little cyberpunk effect because he said cryogenesis, cryogenetically. Wow, boom, let's go.
Eventually disembarked and settled, but it is not the precise spot of their first landing. The Vikings were not a unified group, but rather a collection of seafaring Norse tribes and communities from Scandinavia, including present-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. The Spanish Inquisition did not...
Yeah, it's a good video. Good video. Let me see what he says about the Spanish Inquisition then.
...kill millions of people. While it was responsible for persecuting and...
It is exaggerated, and also Inquisition happened after the Middle Ages. Most of the witch trials happen after the Middle Ages. Some Inquisition did happen in the Middle Ages, of course, but the witch trials are post-medieval. They're not a medieval thing.
Executing thousands, particularly Jews, Muslims, and heretics. The actual number of people killed is estimated to be in the tens of thousands.
Still too many, but, you know. Watch a couple more, and then I'll stop. So I need to watch this one, though. What is he going to say about the... my guess is he's going to say that not all gladiators died, which is true. I think that's the guess.
Gladiators did not always fight to the death. While some matches ended in death, many were designed to entertain the audience without necessarily being fatal. The decision to kill a defeated gladiator was often influenced by the crowd's reaction and the wishes of the sponsor of the games. Isaac Newton...
But he didn't do this. This is also another thing I wish he debunked. This is not a thing. The only mention we have, maybe, and that's a massive maybe, so do take it with a grain of salt. But the only possibility when it comes to at least some emperors is that if the thumb was inside the hand, it means spare his life because it represents the gladius inside the scabbard. Do you know how you say scabbard in Latin? Let me know. And then if the thumb is like this, then it would have meant end him. But even that we're not 100% sure. Some gladiators died, some got demonetized. Some gladiators did die, but it wouldn't be financially viable to train someone and spend so much money into turning him into a good combatant that can win for you, and then they die at every... It's nonsense.
The Roman Empire did not fall in a single event in 476 AD. The Western Roman Empire is often considered to have officially fallen in 476 AD, when the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer.
That's actually a fun thing, that the last Roman emperor, his name is Romulus, which is also the name of the first Roman, at least when it comes to mythology, Romulus. The first one was Romulus, the last one was Romulus. Isn't that a fascinating twisting of events? I really think it is.